Kim, that's a really brave song to sing. It really is. Alanis Morissette has unusual rhythms and changes in her cadences with her songs. But she also has the gift of being able to cut right through the stuff and get down to what life is about. And I've always loved her lyrics, and thank you for bringing that today. It was perfect. I am so glad to see you. It feels like it's been more than one Sunday that I was gone. However, last Sunday afternoon, I saw some of you at our Ministerial Alliance Thanksgiving service at Chapel in the Hills. And that was my first experience with the Alliance of the Ministers here in the Wimberley area. And what a lovely group of people. And how warmly I was welcomed, how warmly we interacted with each other. And that's a great hope to me. You know, it wasn't that long ago that Unity ministers were kind of like to everybody else, kind of those weird people, you know. We were probably those weird people on the hill for a little while. Probably still are to some people, but still are to some of us. I mean, but I kind of love that we're weird, you know. Keep Unity of Wimberley weird, I say. That's a good slogan. But I this morning as I was preparing to come here, I try to check in to you. Not in an intrusive way. I don't, like read minds or anything. But I like to read our collective energy and find out what it is that we need. And it seems like all of us are in a little bit of a poignant space right now, which is not a bad thing. It's that balance that we walk between the joy of life and the sorrow of life, the immense blessings that we receive, and, if we're honest about it, the fear that we're going to lose the blessings. The absolute knowledge that everything is temporary. There's only one thing that we can ever count on, and that is God. That's the only thing. And I'm in kind of a tender place today. My kids came in for Thanksgiving, and we had just the most wonderful time, and some of the most intriguing conversations. And a bunch of their friends came over last night and spent the night, and I've been watching these kids grow up, and what a joy that is. And now they're all leaving today. Boo. I know I've heard some parents say, man, I'm so glad when these kids get out of the house. I'm not one of those people. I really enjoy the company of my children and their friends. And I'm willing to open my heart to them as much as a mom can possibly do and let them go the way only a mom could possibly do. And dads. So it's a sweet time. But it's black and white, And this month, we've been talking about gratitude, and I've always considered gratitude one of the important and essential tools in order for us to recognize the goodness of the universe and to experience our prosperity in that. That's been the main focus of gratitude, is we give thanks for that which is in our lives. It opens our eyes to see more good things, and we bring more to us because we're grateful. And that gives us an open heart, and an open heart can receive. But during this month of study on gratitude, I've also begun to see just a little bit of a different dimension to it. that gratitude is a sustaining practice for us in order for us to know that the divine is present all the time, no matter what. And so it's important for us to practice gratitude when we're happy and the things are flowing our way, and yay, what great weather, what a wonderful time we had, what a great Christmas bonus I got, all those things. But then there's the times in our lives when things don't seem exactly rosy. And sometimes gratitude is the only thing that can help us remember that we're absolutely connected to the divine all the time. That no matter what is going on in our lives, we can find that one sometimes dim spark in our darkness that reminds us that we are completely loved. And it's not like the human love that's so hard for us to grasp. This kind of love is an all-encompassing, no separation kind of love. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not conditional in any way. It's not the kind of love that rewards us when we're good and withholds itself when we're not. That's the old idea, isn't it? That's the old-time religion. Love is, period. And we rely as humans, because we have these physical bodies and these human emotions, we expect that being loved by God is supposed to feel a certain way, that we're supposed to get a feeling about it. It's not so much about feeling as it is a deep knowing. And a deep knowing will sustain us and carry us much farther than a feeling does. So during this time of the holidays in particular, where we're coming and going with families, when we're coming and going with friends, when we're maybe entering a time of the year that is, by its very nature, containing a bit of melancholy. Maybe not. It's important for us to be able to hold on to something in which we know that not only do we have gratitude, but we're gratified. We're gratified. And I looked that up so that I could make sure I knew what I was talking about with you. The definition of gratified is to be pleased, gladdened, delighted, fulfilled, fed, satisfied. Do you know what it feels like to just be satisfied? And sometimes satisfied is counterintuitive to the idea of getting more. Sometimes it's counterintuitive to, oh, well, if this is good, if I'm feeling satisfied now, then more will make me even more satisfied. This is a different kind of satisfaction. It's a satisfaction that can sustain us even when we're torn apart. It will hold us when nothing else will. So we know that all good things come from the divine, even the stuff that we don't call good. That's just our definition problem. Calling things good or bad is a definition problem. Because everything, and I'm going to say this unconditionally, is good. Even the stuff that hurts. Even the stuff that makes us angry. Even the stuff that tears away our foundation and makes us wonder where we're standing. Just ask the folks of Paradise, California, who came together over Thanksgiving, and there was news story after news story of the generosity of people and the gratitude of those who had nothing except that meal and that fellowship that they had with each other. There, I saw a news story about a man who had the most popular seafood restaurant in the area burned to the ground, along with his home. And somehow he had the resources to serve 3 meals a day to people, cooking in a church parking lot at no cost. I saw more turkeys ready to be baked in ovens that were still standing than I ever care to see at one time. I mean, raw turkeys, that's just... But the people who were served those meals, who came together on Thanksgiving Day, had a greater appreciation. And you could hardly call the circumstances of their lives good right now. And they certainly continue to receive our prayers. Do you know when my alarm goes off at 11:11? For those of you who weren't around for that, many of us have started setting our alarms every day for 11:11 so that we can stop and have a moment of prayer. And the first thing I say when it's after that 11:11 alarm has gone off is, "Hi, everybody." Because I know we're together. Hi. So glad to be praying with you. And then whatever rises up for prayer is there. And sometimes it's just a moment of breathing. Just a moment of breathing and letting that breath flow where it needs to flow. So in the book of Luke, Jesus said, we think, "Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Nobody had ever talked to people like that before. Fear not. Let's take it apart. Fear not. We could stop there. Fear not. Little flock. Do you hear the tenderness in that? Do you remember all the stories and your current knowledge about shepherds and how they look after their little sheep? Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure. Nobody had called God Father before until Jesus came along, and he said Father like Abba, which was Daddy, Papa, Abu. And nobody had ever considered that kind of a relationship with the divine, with the great, terrible, punishing God. It's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And they said, "You mean me? Even me? Even me, the tax collector? Even me, the woman caught in adultery?" And I'm just going to throw in the man caught in adultery because it takes 2 to do that. You know what I mean? They never talk about him, but he was there, so. Even me, who has been sick all my life, even me that everyone else rejects, even me in my feeling of unworthiness, even me who doesn't even understand what that means, even me? Yes. Yes. All of us. To receive the kingdom. Now, those are riches beyond our understanding. Haven't you gotten blessings in your life that you never could have anticipated or engineered? When we pray this or something better, it's always better. It's always the better that we receive. And it comes in ways that we could not have put together ourselves. So without personifying God, let's just back away from that Father label, because that was the one Jesus had to use in order to shift people's thinking. But let's take it away from a paternal idea, a paternal personhood. So let's say the Creator is pleased to give to its creation because that's all the Creator knows to do. And our gratitude completes the circuit that we are one with the one. You see, it's flowing to us all the time. And our gratitude amplifies it. Our gratitude says, yes, I receive and I thank you. And so that's our part in it. That's how we become gratified, satisfied, fulfilled, is to know that it's always coming this direction, always, no matter what it looks like. So, of course, it opens us up to good that we might not have seen, but it's also opening that portal. And I like to think of it that way because we're the only ones who ever shut the door. You know, like those adjoining hotel rooms? You know, there's a door on each side. So let's just say the divine door is always open. And we go, okay, I think I'm ready to receive my good. And we open the door. I'm feeling kind of sad today. I'm shutting the door. I'm mad at God right now. The door is firmly slammed shut and locked. We're the only ones who ever closed the door. Because God is God, the Creator, the divine, the universal mind, the universal intelligence, the universal everything, the creator of the smallest atomic particle, the creator of the great cosmic explosions beyond our sight. That creator is always flowing it toward us. We can't forget that. We can't. This came out of talking about film theory with my son. And he was talking about how certain businesses like Disney will try to create for us an idea of something that never existed. So, how about Main Street USA? There never was a Main Street USA. There was an idea of a Main Street USA. But I can tell you that the Main Street USA, if it ever existed in person, it did not sell kettle corn in one shop and Mickey Mouse ears in another one and get your photograph taken over here. Tomorrowland. An idea of a future that did not yet exist. And that's what film does. So I started looking into this idea about sometimes the feeling that we have at this time of year that has some longing to it, some wistfulness to it. Maybe just a little touch of that melancholy. It's the time of the year, where we see things becoming dormant, except dormant's not really dormant. Dormant is a necessary stage, an active stage actually, for things to grow again. But to our visible eyes, all we see are the leaves falling, the little creatures going into hibernation. And so I would propose to us that ultimately our longing and our wistfulness are just our desire to recognize that we're not separate from God. You know, the great scholars have said that all longing is a longing for God. So there are two terms that I'd like to share with you. Sorry, a little bit of the academic is coming out today. There's a German term, Fernweh. Fernweh. And I can't say it like a good German, but close enough. It's a German term for far sickness, a desire to wander, especially to places we've not been to before. A longing to be where something else is that maybe we've never seen. And why do we have that longing? Do you ever feel homesick for a place you've never been to? Far sickness. Fernweh. Fernweh. And then there's another term called saudade. Saudade. Is Lolita here? Yes. Yes, it is. It's Portuguese. It's from Brazil. And I love this term. It's a nostalgia or a longing for something that perhaps has never happened. Nostalgia about something we've never experienced. Now, do you get the feeling of that? Do you get that? It's a pleasure you suffer, an ailment you enjoy. That's from Manuel de Melo. I love that. I love that idea. And you know that idea. Sometimes I had to look up the words because I surely thought that I am not the only person who's experienced this. You know, my dad has never been to Russia, but every time he hears Russian music or a Russian men's chorus, he weeps. I would say that's saudade. And probably a little bit of Fernweh too. But I would say that those two words describe best that longing that we have to be closer to the divine. Because the only thing that can fulfill that, we may go to that place that satisfies that. We may go experience that thing that satisfies our nostalgia. But ultimately, our best satisfaction is the divine. So we're going to have human and earthy feelings that reflect or duplicate our longing for the divine. They're kind of exquisite, aren't they? Sometimes it's longing for a partner. Sometimes it's longing for our youth. Sometimes it's longing for those who've passed beyond this life that we wish were beside us. Sometimes it's longing for summer when we're in the depths of winter. But it all comes back to our longing for God. And I think we shouldn't be ashamed to talk about that. We shouldn't be embarrassed by that. What more could we want than to be in love with that which created us? To say, oh my gosh, I'm alive. Oh, I'm drawing breath. I am among people today who love me. They may not even know they love me, but they do. because we've made an agreement with each other to love each other. A love beyond a feeling. It's a love that's about connection. It's a love that's about our commonness. To be imperfectly perfect people. We're spiritual people. With our human frailties and our human failings. And yet, our love brings us into this, woven together. Notice that, I'll say this again, even in our moments of the worst times in our lives, we can have our knowledge of connection even if it's just the finest thread. So, I want you to consider that this week. As you continue to figure out what you're grateful for every day, even if you have to do it through clenched teeth. Talked to somebody the other day who had just spent hours at the car dealership waiting for something to be fixed on their car. And I had done that just recently, so I understood. And I could say I was grateful for a really good Wi-Fi connection while I was there. I was grateful for their free coffee because it was good and not burnt. I could be grateful for those guys. I knew they were working as hard as they could work. If they weren't, I didn't want to know. Even if it's an overabundance of casseroles. We're grateful. We're grateful. So why don't you close your eyes just for a moment? Why don't you allow yourself to feel whatever it is that weighs heavy upon you today? And look around in all the corners and see if you can find that spark. That tiny spark that lights up the darkness. And if you're filled with joy today and gratitude comes easily to you and you are more than satisfied, then let your heart fill up and overflow. Let it leak out of your eyes if it needs to. For surely in our ever evolving and maturing spirituality, it's vital that we continue to know our oneness. That we find the portal of gratitude through which we can pass into a greater understanding, a warmer comfort. And knowing that you are satisfied and gratified, it will open your heart and mind to a greater level of patience through this holiday season with people and places and traffic. And if there is a resentment or a hurt that you've been holding, and your grip on it is so tight that you've become numb, will you consider the possibility that your Creator loves you even in the midst of that resentment and hurt, and is even now softening your heart that you might be at peace? As we heard in the song today, how about I finally forgive you? And thank you for my disillusionment. For I can walk through that valley and then look to the peak in which there is a greater understanding, a greater wisdom. And now, beloved, take your look inward and expand it outward now, knowing that all creatures, human and otherwise, are blessed by the divine, no matter where they are, no matter what their life circumstances are. Send your energy out to comfort the suffering, to lay a hand upon the dying. Send out a little bit of hope to the hopeless. Because that is what we do. This is who we are. Messengers and emissaries and angels of divinity. If we do not do it, then who will? I find that it helps to cement my prayers, to bring them into reality by bringing my hands together, feeling them touch each other because they complete that circuit that we're completing with our Creator. Thank you that I live. Thank you that my prayers are already known. Thank you that my heart is utterly and completely a product of the Creator. And I am satisfied. And for all this good, we are grateful. And so it is.